What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Just Like Smith channel. In today's video, we're going to be showing you how to get your 6.0 Power Stroke. I know mine is in a million pieces right now. If you aren't watching the rebuild series, make sure you get in there and hit that subscribe button and watch. There's going to be a lot of helpful information in all of the videos to come. I've done full videos showing you how to disassemble the rear axle and the front axle, complete teardowns in case you want to powder coat your axles. And now, while we have this apart and before we take it off to powder coat, we're about to do a little bit of welding. Now, I will say, I'm going to go ahead and explain what we're doing in this video first. So, on the older F-Series pickup trucks, the rear shocks go the same direction. And I'm going to throw up a picture on the screen of what I mean by that. So, as you can see, the picture on the left is the way that the older trucks looked. I'm not sure really what year this transferred over from. And when they started doing the flip to where one shock is pointing forward and one shock is pointing backwards. But me personally, I'm OCD. I've never liked that about this truck. So that's what we're going to change today. So I did notice in a parking lot one day, like a couple of years ago actually, and I noticed that it was a 6.0 truck, but he claimed that it was an 05, but it had the older front end. So I think he just kind of didn't know what year it was. He said it was a 6.0, but I could have sworn it was a 7.3. And his rear shocks, the truck was lifted so I could see the rear shocks. The rear shocks were both going the same direction. So I was looking at it and I was like, man, how did he get it like that? And he had bought the truck like that, so he had no idea. So I've done some investigating, I've done some research, and pretty much I got some rear axle shock mounts off of a 01 and back. I think it's like 99 to 02. Is what the year range would be, but that's something you're just going to have to kind of research, and I'm going to show you what all you have to do on the truck too. You do have to change one bracket and cut a bracket off if you want to. So this is the bracket. Let's go ahead and knock out what you have to do to the truck to get this to work, and then we'll go on to the welding part. And the welding is kind of optional. You don't have to if you don't want to. I don't think. I'm pretty sure it would hold with just the U-bolts. I'm going to weld this and try to do it, just as if it came from the factory, if not better. So this is a rear frame upper shock mount bracket. So if we look under here, right there is a shock mount, the upper shock mount. And then on this side, it's up here in the front, okay? So with this one being in the front, we need it to be back here in the back in line with that one. So these holes I'm going to weld in and fill in and then smooth those down. So we'll just have a fresh area to work with. And then this bracket is actually going to go on the back side, of course, but it will bolt just like that. And I'm going to leave one of those holes, and I think that's going to get it close enough. But pretty much this will go up in here just like so, and then it will match the other side. And of course, I'll measure all of this before I drill the holes and whatnot. So I do have the teardown axle videos on my YouTube channel. If you do want to click back and watch those, right here is the rear axle, or the front axle. It's completely tore down. And I have a very, very in-depth video on how to do that. So make sure you go and check those out. I worked really, really hard to bring you guys some good quality, in-depth content for how to do that. These are all the parts that you're going to be needing, which I will explain and talk about. But just in case you wanted to take a screenshot of them, so then if you go to a parts yard or if you message somebody with a parts truck, you can screenshot this and send it to them and show them the exact parts that you need. All of this stuff will be on the rear axle. This will be on the actual frame, and you will need this off of the passenger side. All right, guys, so with that being said, let's continue on in the video. Now, what you will need off of the actual axle are these brackets right here. These are exactly the same. I don't know why they'd be any different. And then they have these U-bolt. I don't really like how the U-bolts look. They're not my favorite, but I can cut these studs that show through off flush and then put on some bolt covers. So that'll make that look nice. And then of course, bolt covers on the actual shock bolts as well. I thought about just going without the U-bolts and welding these actual brackets to the rear axle, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna leave it and use the U-bolts. So I'll powder coat all of this, or have all that stuff powder coated. But yeah, so here is what the brackets look like, and they have a U-bolt that goes through. But right here in the center, that's what's different. So I have already went ahead in the video and cut this off. I still have to prep it before welding. But on this side, this is on the rear axle. I'll explain what these tape lines are for here in just a second. So this is the little guidance hole that goes in the center of that bracket. Now on this side, it's already in the correct location. On this side, it was not. So on this side, it was welded like up there. And it's actually up off the axle a little bit. So I literally just got back in there with a cutoff wheel and cut it off. I didn't lose any material, didn't do anything. And the bracket actually doesn't go all the way down flush anyway. So this will still be perfectly fine to reuse. So what I'm gonna end up doing is prepping the exterior of this, and then I'm gonna slide it down and put a nice little weld all the way around. I measured from right here on this outside peg for the brackets on the hub assembly and all that. So I measured from here over, and I put a piece of tape. Measured from here over and put a piece of tape. And then I got those measurements and I just copied it onto this side, because you can't measure from right here over because this isn't centered. The actual pumpkin and all that isn't centered. So you have to measure from over here and over there. And pretty much I mocked this, which makes sense because right here is the little spot where I cut that off, and that's got us dead centered again. So this used to be right here, and it needs moved down and re-welded exactly like that one. Okay, so how I'm gonna do that, I've already got my left to right measurement, so all I need to figure out is where this goes up and down. And if it was like a couple millimeters off, guys, that's not going to make one bit of difference, but you do want to get this as close as possible. So what I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna measure from the ground up to the bottom of this. And I'm gonna do the same thing over here. I'm gonna measure from the ground up until the bottom of this is the exact same. And then I'm gonna tack it on. And after I tack it on, I'll be able to pull the tape off and burn a weld around it. This thing will be ready to sand all the casting marks out of, take off to sandblast, and have it powder coated. As far as what I used to cut this off, like I said, I used a cutoff wheel. If you're not sure what that is, it's this. Well, actually, this has a flap disc on it right now. But here's the cutoff wheel. So just slice down in there, and then I actually beat it the rest of the way off so then I wouldn't mar it up too much. So I literally just sliced right to there and right to there, and then it kind of broke off, and then I just smoothed the top down, and now I'm about to smooth the edges to where it's all uniform and the same. And I'm gonna do that by just putting this in the bench vise and using that flap disc, and then I'll hand sand it and wipe everything down with acetone. Anytime that you're welding, just being clean is the #1 thing. All right, guys, so we've got our whole axle grounded out, and we've got our part cleaned and prepped right here. We've got the axle cleaned and prepped. That's just flap disc, and then I hit it with the sander with some 80 grit sandpaper on it. So now I'm gonna hit this straight from the ground. It's pretty much 4 1/4. And then I'm gonna come over here, and I'm going to make the bottom of this hit at 4 1/4, which is right there. All right, now we can cut that back off where it's at right now. So now that I've got it on there, it's perfectly centered in between my 2 tape lines. From the very bottom to from the floor to the very bottom of that is 4 1/4. From the floor to the very bottom of this is 4 1/4. Now I can step back, visually look at it. Obviously, to the naked eye, it's gonna look identical. So now that we've got that tacked on in the correct location, I'm gonna go ahead and burn in one side of it. Now we can go ahead and take off our tape, because that is there to stay. And now I will say, guys, I'm no professional welder, so you guys can probably do even better of a job. But I'm not afraid to show you what it looks like whenever we get done. And I can always take a little file, and I can go around and around and around on that, and I can make this look decent. I am at least confident enough to where I know that I can make this look fine. And then of course it's still gonna go off to sandblast, get powder coated, and these welds, no matter how cool they look, they're gonna get covered up by that bracket. So now that that one is on there, of course, whenever you start and stop welding, I'm sure you guys already know this, but it doesn't always look the best. So we will probably go through here and clean that up. But hey, at least I got to use my welder, get a little bit of practice, and it doesn't look half bad, and it gets completely covered up. All right, guys, so now I'm gonna go onto this side, and then I'm gonna weld on this one as well, even though it's already on there. I want them both to be exactly the same, just so I know in my head, both of those look the same underneath those brackets. All right, guys, that's on there. Let's see if I can make this one look even better after I got a little bit of practice on that one. Oh yeah, this side already looks better. All right, guys, like I said, not the best at welding, and I'm definitely not good at going around in a circle on something this small. But from where this axle housing is so heavy duty, that really helped a lot. So I can kind of turn my welder up, not have to worry about burning through anything, and kind of get some good practice in. But starting and stopping, I'm not good at, and going around in a circle, I'm not good at. But on something straight, I can lay a decent bead, but that's, that doesn't look the best, but like I said, it's gonna get covered up by that bracket anyway. So you pretty much take what you got there and slap that over top of it. Once you crank those U-bolts down, that's gonna come almost flush, and that's gonna keep your axle shock bracket from rotating. And now, whenever I put that one on the other side, it's gonna be exactly the same. Boom. So now, both of your shock brackets are pointing the same direction. And that's gonna look a lot better once it's actually on the truck. All right, guys, so now that we're done welding, well, in this video at least we're done welding, there's a couple little nicks and divots and stuff like that on the axle, like I guess some rocks or a hammer or previous maintenance for me taking it apart, being on the jack stand, stuff like that. And I'm just gonna literally hit those, put a little bit of weld on them, so then I can flap disc all of that down, and then I'm gonna start sanding the axle tubes and start smoothing down all of the casting marks. And then of course, any divots and stuff that I need to fill in, I'll fill those in right now as well. So then in the next video, so make sure that you all get on there and click that subscribe button, because in the next video, we're gonna be completely smoothing these axles, getting rid of all of the casting marks, and then they will be going off to sandblast and then to powder coat. And we also accepted a very, very badass, awesome wheel company sponsorship for the 2022 show season. So the 6.0 is gonna have a bad set of shoes on it. Just let me tell you guys, oh my gosh, I can't wait to show you these freaking wheels. They are so badass. So anyway, I just want to show you guys this. I thought it was a really, really cool mod, something quick, simple, something that you can do whether you have a show truck or not. Maybe you just have OCD, you like your truck more on the stock side, but you upgrade it to some Bilstein shocks or King shocks or Fox shocks, and you're like, hey, it wouldn't look half bad if both of those shocks were pointing the same way. This is a very, very good mod, and I think this is a pretty cool mod that you can do all the way up to current year model. I'm pretty sure is still flipped opposite ways, I think. I'm not sure on the Illumiduties, but I'm pretty sure like from 05 all the way up to 2016 F250 and 350, they're all flipped and they're not going the same way. So I hope this helped you all. I'm gonna go ahead and weld in a couple of little spots and stuff on this axle to get ready for the next video that I'm filming for you guys. So stay tuned. Always remember, everybody starts out as nobody, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace. Also, I know the lighting isn't good, but I'm gonna show you a little sneak peek of the new steering wheel. That's gonna be one of the next videos as well. So this is the baddest 6.0 steering wheel on the market. If you don't want to do all of the big dash swaps and stuff like that, go through all the work. This is a bolt-on option that you guys are gonna love. I'll see you in the next one.